Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back at Rejuvenate Edition 2. We have got fantastic guests from all corners of the world together with us right now. And we were just talking off air earlier, and this is how small the world has become, and how the pandemic has really brought all of us together. I'm just so excited. I think you can hear it from my voice. You can see it in my face. I'm so happy to have all my friends here from, obviously, friends that I've made in Clubhouse that are here to get to today to support the event. And I'd like to introduce first Major Vandana Sharma. She is the co-founder of Stree. I don't think I will be doing her any justice at all to be introducing her, but very quickly, she is a woman leader, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, HR industry leader, career coach, and an ex-military officer from the Indian Army. And we want to hear more about that later, but I'll keep that for her for the introductions. And then obviously we have Ria Eichmann, who is based in Australia at the moment, but she is from Japan. And she is the intercultural trainer and consultant at Cultural Training Consultancy. And she has been so passionate to be talking about and teaching about global mindset to professionals and students alike, right? And she has collaborated with prestigious universities in Japan and running global skills program and whatnot. Again, I will not say too much. I will keep it to her to be introducing herself later. And finally, the thorn among the roses, Felipe Cofino, who is based in the US. I believe that's the East Coast, right? Yes. Perfect. And Felipe is a human resource and learning development executive, 25 years of experience. He has worked across industries, and of course, in the last 10 years, he is in banking and finance industry in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. So lovely to have all of you here today. Welcome.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Lovely being here.
I guess I'll start with Major Vandana. Could you perhaps take a moment to give us a more in-depth introduction to who you are and what you do, and yeah, please take it away.
Thanks, Andrew. Hey, Rie and Felipe, lovely meeting you guys. And I'm very sure there'll be so many beautiful perspectives from all parts of the globe today. And as we were discussing, the world has become so much smaller. It's beautiful to interact with people from all over time zones and geographies. So that's the power of the virtual world that has brought all of us together. Very briefly about me, as Andrew gave a huge introduction already. I feel very, very honored and humbled. Thank you so much. And I just start by saying that I have had a very, very diverse career when I was young, and that's why this topic is so interesting to me. I wanted to share my thoughts because today the skill industry is so diverse, and my own career has seen 3 very, very different shifts. So I started my life and my career at the age of 22 as a lieutenant in the Indian Army. And in the armed forces, women were unheard of. And at a time, this was 1996, the Indian Army had just decided to commission women as officers in the forces. So I took that as an exciting project in my life, and I said, let me see how this goes. And trust me, it was beautiful because for a lot of reasons. One, this was a new area, so a total trailblazing. Second, for women, it's a new space. So you're actually paving path for many more. And it also allows you to test your own boundaries. So there were so many beautiful reasons why I thought that would be a good career to start. And I spent a decade with the armed forces. And then I decided to transition into a corporate career. And with that, I did an MBA, moved into human resources, learned completely different skills from what I knew in the armed forces. It was an offline world. Now it was completely, IT organizations, working on computers, working with people all over the world, and a very, very diverse crowd. So huge shift for me, from being in the Himalayas and the borders of the country, to being in big cities and managing the traffic and chaos of the Indian cities. So a journey of all kinds, I would say. A huge amount of skilling needed in every possible way. And then the e-commerce and the startup bug bit me in 2012. So since then, it's been a beautiful roller coaster of a journey. I have worked with a lot of very, very inspiring entrepreneurs in the startup space in the country, and I've lived in Bangalore since then. Fascinating growth, great careers, and my own entrepreneurial journey started. I started something called Startup People Consulting, which is in the HR space for recruitment training. Apart from that, last year in the lockdowns, I co-founded Stree with another friend. And this is skill sharing for women. And this seemed like a great opportunity because women are underrepresented. Forget about the offline world, but even in the online world. So we decided that's a good space to help women entrepreneurs and do something meaningful. So it's been a beautiful journey. I am still learning, and I'm willing to put in more to learn more and do my bit for the startups and the whole ecosystem. So that's pretty much what I have to say, Andrew. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Major Vandana. We quickly move on to Ria Eichmann. You are based in Australia currently, but you have been all over. I will leave that to you, Ria. Please introduce
Hi,
yourself.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening to you all, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for having me. My name is Ria Eichmann. I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan, and I have lived and worked in both Eastern and Western countries, including Taiwan, Thailand, US, and UK, and now I'm based in Brisbane, Australia. I have worked in various industries, including IT, hospitality, e-commerce, and higher education. And I've been working as an intercultural trainer and consultant for the past 10 years. I've been teaching various kind of people, including families relocating to overseas, or I run a yearly university program teaching global skills. So the university student will equip with the global skills and understanding, so feel confident working, collaborating with people overseas. I also do corporate training, teaching executives or management and how to, work effectively with their international team. So that's me. I'm so excited to be here tonight, and I'm hoping to share my knowledge and passion with you tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we next have the voice of Room Resets, Felipe Cofino. I'm sorry, I just had to do that. Just for Vandana's and then Ria's knowledge, if you have not heard how Felipe resets rooms on Clubhouse, you will need to go to the Sticky Big Club that happens, GMT +8 at 8 p.m. every night. So that's about half an hour from now, and listen to him do a room reset. I mean, it is fantastic. If there's anything at all that you want to experience in Clubhouse, believe me, that would be it.
Okay.
Felipe, okay, I'm going to stop embarrassing you. I'm going to stop embarrassing you because I don't know if that's a blush or if that's a tan, because your cheeks are turning red.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Felipe.
So thank you, Andrew, and it's a pleasure to be here with Ria and Vandana, because it is amazing. They are, first of all of you are amazing people, and it's a privilege to get to know you in person now. I feel we've talked on audio and we've seen each other in other areas, but to be here, it's a wonderful thing. And my name is Felipe Cofino. I'm a VP of HR and Talent Development and Signal Financial in the banking and finance industry in the U.S. and right in the United States by Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. I started actually my career in the retail industry and then moved into hospitality for about 23 years. And I worked for Hyatt Hotels and Hospitality and Tourism, really just where I found my niche of passion for human resources. I graduated with 2 degrees, one in finance and one in human resources. I found out late in life that my interest was in human resources, and I had a great mentor in the hotel industry. And I found out that recruitment was something that I love. I love finding people jobs in the right company, in the right culture. It is a great passion of mine that over my 25 years of being an HR exec, I've always made sure that I kept recruitment close to me because that is something I truly enjoy and I believe I'm very good at it. And I enjoy helping people with their career journey. But after the hospitality industry, I got into the banking world, worked at some places that were very toxic. I said I went through hell to get to heaven because now I'm at a place where we have wonderful leadership, we have a wonderful culture, and we have an opportunity to really help out not only our employees, but our customers and the community. So I love this opportunity to talk about these important topics that you have today, Andrew. And thank you for having me here today. Obviously, I'm very active on LinkedIn. That is where people can find me the most. And then, as Andrew mentioned, you can hear me on Clubhouse as well. So.
Fantastic. And we will go to those details on how our viewers can get in touch with you a little later towards the end. Felipe, perhaps I'll stay with you and get down to serious business and perhaps ask, how is the job market like in the US? Perhaps an overview in terms of, across the board, and then maybe you can touch a little bit on in terms of the youth segment. How has it been? If you can paint us a picture of pre-pandemic as well as during, the last 24 months, that would be fantastic.
Sure, Andrew. It definitely has been a roller coaster. I will say that. Pre-pandemic, I would say that unemployment rates were just slowly dropping. It was we didn't have a whole lot of unemployment, but during COVID, obviously that changed, and that made a dramatic shift. What happened is that we were fortunate enough right now to be able to maintain a lot of the stuff through COVID, but then with the unemployment, that's what really provided a challenge. There were people that were opening up. We're in a situation today right now where we are opening up in the US, a lot of businesses, especially restaurants, retail, vendors, and they're having challenges for entry-level workers because what's happening is the youth and the entry-level workers are actually getting paid more through unemployment in many cases than they are for an entry-level hourly job. So what's happening is it's a double whammy because what's happening is, the people who are sitting at home with unemployment, that's great for them that they have that wonderful benefit, but it's also providing an employment gap on their resume of not working. And then the employers are suffering because they're not finding people to come apply. The applicant flow of number of applicants that we are getting here is not as high as it used to be. And it's across all industries. And it will change, I think, once the employment runs out. And there are some other factors that play into it, of course. That's just one of them. But that's our current status right now, is that we are struggling to find people that want to work right now. And it's been challenging.
So Felipe, if I hear you right, even with the pandemic, there isn't a shift in terms of seeing a particular industry that has a surge or has an increase in need for workforce.
There has been, obviously the IT field, information technology has grown tremendously, and that has something that not only have they always proven they can work remotely, but the need for it. I know that I'm so grateful that my company was forward thinking that a year before the pandemic, our IT team were like, we need to get you on Microsoft Teams. We need to get you on Teams. And there was some resistance, but I'm so grateful for people in IT that really were forward thinking, because that's what got us through the pandemic, about staying engaged with each other, being able to do so much with it. And we were already used to it before the pandemic hit. So the IT field is definitely an area that I think has thrived. Obviously, there's other areas that have thrived as well, but I definitely think that the IT is one of the major areas. There are some, I will say that what suffered are the customer-facing ones. Back office jobs, people are striving to go back to back office jobs more than customer-facing jobs, because we're seeing that they feel like there's less of a risk there, especially with the Delta variant coming out. People feel like they'd rather be non-customer facing in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it's up to the companies, I think, to make sure that they provide safe environments, wearing the masks, have the protective shields up, taking temperatures, whatever you have to do to make your employees and customers feel safe.
Vandana, how is the situation like in India?
So, Andrew, unemployment has been a problem with our country for a while because it's a huge country and the third world economy. So situation was a lot better. However, when the pandemic hit, and it's hit the country pretty badly, so there was a very, very significant amount of job losses. And even this year, in the last couple of months, I think about 10 million job losses happened. So it's been huge. It's impacted families, places where there was only one breadwinner. It was extremely hard. People have taken job cuts. People have moved to lower level salaries. People have moved to skills where they were not really comfortable with. But because the shops shut, the stuff that they were doing, completely, the businesses dried up. So they moved to a lot of other skills which were still possible in lockdown situations. So even in my ecosystem and the people I work with, in the IT industry and in the startups, I noticed that a lot of, while new jobs started to emerge, like the logistics, e-commerce, there was a huge boom. And a lot of people who lost jobs in, say, hospitality, they moved to jobs in e-commerce. They moved to jobs in startup space, or healthcare in the last mile delivery, supply chain jobs. So those were the kind of jobs which started to pick up. And there was, again, a huge demand in IT jobs. Initially, there were layoffs and a lot of cost cutting around that. But then the digital marketing, the content creation, AI and data sciences and analytics, that kind of jobs really picked up. So, all the top 5 IT companies in India have been hiring. And we are given to understand that there'll be close to 1 lakh jobs which will happen very, very, very soon in the next month or two. So those are exciting numbers, and that just makes you feel good rather, with all the sadness that came with people losing jobs. So it's been a mixed bag. I'd say it's a new learning for employers as well as employees, all kinds of things. And we'll continue to talk. I guess, we'll get everybody's perspective, then we'll keep sharing more.
Yeah, and I guess that sentiment is shared across the globe, I suppose. Yeah, everyone is trying to cope with the new normal.
Yeah. And probably,
yeah.
Andrew, this is the first time I'd say that the whole world is together in this. Otherwise, what used to happen was there used to be something that strikes, say, Africa or South America or US or India. It would never be at a global level. This is the first time all of us have the same issue.
That's right.
So I guess the solutions are also very common.
Yeah. Ria, it is Tokyo 2020, although we are experiencing it in 2021. And tonight, in fact, I think perhaps is ongoing now as well. Imagine this, we are fighting for viewership with the opening ceremony of the Olympics.
It's just so...
It was meant to be a year where, especially tourism, if I recall correctly, I think Tokyo was expecting 40 million visitors or tourists during the Olympics. And now it's almost like a total shutdown in terms of public getting into the Olympics now. How has it been in terms of the landscape in Japan, I suppose?
In terms of like industry affected, like, as you all mentioned, that tourism is quite affected, or entertaining. People don't go out anymore. So it's pretty universal. There's some prefectures like Okinawa, let's say, part of, Japan, they rely on heavily on tourism. It's like taxi drivers, like they don't really, have any tourists coming. So they were pretty badly affected. Same as, the country I'm in, Australia as well, they closed the border. So, it's interesting because of that, you just realize we were relying on international workers. For example, in Australia, there's a lot of agricultural, field that there's a lot of working holiday makers come here to pick up, fruits or vegetables, and there's no one. It's so big country, and if all the crops that we were relying on international laborers, and yeah, it's affecting universally and quite similar way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ria. It's also almost the same in Malaysia. Tourism is a standstill. I mean, it obviously in every country for that matter, right? But it's just that certain countries, of course, depend on tourism very heavily as well. I'm just going to move on to the next question here, and anyone at all who wants to kickstart the conversation, please jump in. We talked about, I think Vandana touched on this a little bit earlier. Youth unemployment, for the longest time it has been a dilemma. What could be the main reasons behind this? Why has it taken it so long? Be it ministries, agencies, NGOs, or even private sector to think of what went wrong in terms of youth unemployment. So could it be a set structure of system, an education system that is there that is prehistoric? Is it due to demand-supply mismatch? Is it because in recent times digital transformation is moving at warp speed? Or is it simply because of the individual in terms of mindset? Or none of those at all? I mean, if you can think of anything else, what could it be in your country especially? What do you think is the dilemma there?
Felipe, would you like to go first?
I definitely think that there's an educational aspect of this, with unemployment. And I think it's on both ends. It's also on the job seeker, but also for the companies. There are a lot of companies out there that are thinking or looking, they want that experienced person to jump in the job and hit the job running. And that's where I think companies need to revisit some of their strategies, because I think there's an opportunity to take some of these youth that are hungry, that do want to work, but don't have the skill sets yet. And, we all were fortunate enough to learn skill sets from somebody. Somebody taught us at some point in our careers. And that's where I feel it's our opportunity to give back, because you can train somebody to use systems. You can train somebody about your products or services or whatever you do in your company. You can't train someone to have a positive attitude. You can't train someone to take initiative. Either they do or they don't. And I think that's our obligation to help out the youth in that sense, because I think a lot of them are confused. Some of them, and then you have the whole ghosting issue that happens, where people ghosted, and that hurts the reputation of the applicant as well as the employer, whoever's ghosting, if it's a recruiter ghosting or the employer. But I think the education of helping the youth understand the benefits of how to properly get a job, how to properly apply, some of the tricks that they're just not aware of, to help them look good when they come across. But then there's that obligation on the employer side to look at what opportunities do we have as employers to take somebody that may not have a skill set but has the right attitude and the right energy and the right initiative, and train them so that they gain that skill set, because we can't expect to always hire people that have prior experience. And I think that the educational part is important on both sides, for the youth and for the employer.
Just a funny fact before perhaps I move to Ria to also maybe address this. In Malaysia recently, there was a job posting that asked for a particular post, to fill a particular position, for example, and asked for a 10-year experience, but that particular platform or software is only 5 years old.
Okay.
Oh,
funny.
Yeah.
That's that.
That's that. Yeah. Ria, I suppose if you have something to chime in to that as well. What do you think could be the problem in Japan in
Well,
terms of youth unemployment?
yeah, so surprisingly, in Japan, the youth unemployment is really, really low. We have like 4% of youth
So this,
unemployment, and in
so this is
total,
interesting. Ria, sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but
that's
this is
okay.
interesting. So this is probably a good case study for
Yeah.
all of us here to hear Ria out in terms of what Japan is perhaps doing right.
Yeah.
Yes, and doing it differently. Exactly. I'm sorry, Ria. I
That's
just got too
okay.
excited. Please continue.
Yeah, I'm also really enjoyed because, you know, having this event, I was like searching on why Japan has such a low, you know, unemployment rate compared to other, you know, developed country or other countries. So first of all, I think the reason why is this, it's quite secured. We have lifelong employment still. A lot of companies still, you know, if you're newly graduate, they will enter this company and they'll be, you know, there for quite most of the life. That still exists. And that's why a lot of times Japanese people enroll for this company, and company will look after you and train you, and they will be with this company for a long time. And especially now we have less young people. So from the number you see, oh, that's good because you don't have that high unemployment. But also at the same time, it's scary because we have more aging people. Oh, in 40 years time, we have a lot more aged person compared to young people. And now we have more jobs and less young people filling. So, you know, I was very curious, interesting that why Japanese has, but I think there's a lot of more other information I see. And yeah, it looks good on the number basis, but you know, the story behind, I would say, because there's less young people and also the salary increase is less. So they do get the job, but they quit within 3 years because they don't think the job they apply for is matching. So there's still, yeah, a few problems like that exist.
Okay, so we do see from that
And
that
Drew, I'd like
there are. Yes, Vandana, please.
Yeah. So I think in India we have a interesting problem besides everything that got said, both in Japan and US. I would start by saying that the problem are all of the government policies, the education system, and the industry, because there is no sync, and it's not working completely, collaborating together. They're all in isolation and somehow existing, and nobody has probably worked in detail to solve the whole supply demand situation. And I guess that's pretty much the issue from an education point of view. In the universities, the kind of courses which are taught, by the time the kids graduate and come into the workforce, a lot of that information is obsolete or not relevant in the whole world, because now the world is changing every, I'd say, 2 years. Earlier I used to say 5 years, but now every 2 years there is a completely new sector of skills that comes up. The whole economy, the whole dynamics change everywhere. And I don't think our governments or policies or the education system are working towards that kind of accelerated speed. So they are not able to do the catch up. The other problem I'd say is the awareness, not just for the student, but even as parents, because I'm also a parent. And I see how less we know about what's going to be important. I mean, I know because I'm from the industry and human resources and all that. And I think I'm more well informed than 80-90% of people who are, around my peer. But parents don't know. They don't know what's the best thing for the children, and what kind of courses should they do, what kind of emerging trends are happening. And the biggest problem, and that's why there are so many memes on social media about the Indian parents and everything, even when we were growing up, the only jobs which were respected by the society and parents were engineering and doctors. Everybody wanted their children to be either engineers or doctors. If you decide to do anything else, for example, if you want to become a dancer or a sommelier or anything else, it was not respected. It was like, oh, you're not doing good enough, you're not a good kid. So there was this whole mindset and bias that there are only these jobs which are respectable, and probably if you don't fit into a doctor or engineer, then you join something like fly planes or join the forces. So those are some of the mindset things which have changed a lot, at least in the urban world. There is a shift now. The kids, and especially the Gen Z and the millennials, a lot of work has happened where people have said, hey, I don't want a 9 to 5 job. I want to be a digital nomad. I want to work across the world. And I don't want to work in the same industry for several years like our parents used to. They used to join one industry and retire from there. So a lot has changed. So I just wanted to share that from my side.
That's fantastic, Vandana. And I think whatever you mentioned as well, I will have to echo it in terms of the landscape in Malaysia as well. You know, very typical Asians
Yes.
parenting, Felipe. You know, they either want you to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, and nothing else in between or whatever it is will be good enough. You know, but I'm also happy to note that in Malaysia that there is somewhat of a mindset shift from parents today, and that has been, I suppose, helped a lot by the ministry and the agencies below it, where they work very closely in terms of digital tech talent development and whatnot. We have an agency here in Malaysia called the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, right? They champion digital tech talent, and there is a full suite of information. So if parents are unsure what sort of a career pathway a software developer would head towards, and what is required to reach there, it's available online in that sense. So things have slowly changed in that sense. But yeah, there are still parents who are exactly like what you have just mentioned, right? I don't care what you're gonna do, but this is what you need to be doing, because that is how auntie's son and uncle's son or daughters have gone on and started their career. They have became doctors and whatnot.
It's traditions in the families, yeah. But
yes.
If I can just add, something that Vandana said about the education system, and it really sparked something with me, because I so agree with her on this. I think the education system has a great opportunity to prepare the students coming out, whether it's high school or the university, it doesn't matter, better for the workforce, because they have career coaches or career counselors, I should say, in the schools to help them try to find maybe an internship when they graduate out in their field. That's it. Are they preparing them to job search, to use LinkedIn, to reach out to similar people that might be able to help them? No, they're not. If I didn't have passion for LinkedIn, my children would not be on LinkedIn right now. My daughter would not be using it to get into a master's program and get an internship.
So true.
That's the stuff that we have an obligation as parents, like you said, Vandana, but also as educators. I would love for them to have a class on how to properly search for a job, or even a LinkedIn class on just how to have your profile stand out so that job employers can capture you and search for you. That would be something that would be useful for anybody, because not everyone's going to get, as we all know, everyone does not get their first job out of the university in the field that they got their degree in. That doesn't always happen, or sometimes they never even work in that field they got a degree in sometimes. So how are they going to be taught to find a job to help them survive in an economy that is struggling? And I think that's a really important point you brought, Vandana, because that is something that as an education system, I know they could find people that would be willing to teach the classes. It's just up to them to make it a priority.
In Malaysia, when you talk about trying to introduce something into the education system, especially to the public schools, or it goes through layers and layers of bureaucracy, right? And I think at a lot of times that is the major obstacle in terms of wanting to have that kind of a change in the education system. And we education system is probably something another session, definitely, you know, because that can be a whole session altogether, and I would love to invite all of you back again. But you touched on something earlier, Felipe, which actually coincided with a question that is in from the audience. It says here, it's from Muhammad Izam. Is having a degree or furthering education still relevant in today's job market? Or should the youth focus on having proper skill sets and build their leadership skills? So I'm going to let Felipe answer that first, and perhaps Rie, for you to chip in as well.
Yeah, I think they're equally as important. You know, nowadays, the experience that you can gain is just as important as having that degree. I always say that having that degree, it tells a lot about you. If you're somebody that was able to get a degree, it shows that you took initiative, that you know what you want, that you have an interest in that field. It just validates you a little bit more. But if you've been working in the industry, doing the job for the last 10 years, that tells me the same thing. So for me, I think that it is, if you are one of those fortunate people that knows what you want, and you're coming out of the university and you have that degree and you're focused and you want to be that attorney, that lawyer, that doctor, whatever it may be, or that engineer, that's extremely useful. But I do believe wholeheartedly that the experience hands-on can be just as valuable, if not sometimes more valuable, than the education, and vice versa. Sometimes education can be more valuable than the experience. So it is something that I think that we shouldn't judge people one way or the other. I think we look at the individual, look at what they have to offer, and find the right fit.
Rie?
Yeah. I loved what Felipe was saying, and I totally agree, because nowadays, yes, it's both are important, and especially if we're young, it depends on what stage you are in, where you're at, right? When you're young, it's time to study, learn, you know, because that's the best place. You learn the basics, and you can, it's okay, totally, like, oh, I didn't enjoy, or it's not for me, that's fine. But when you don't know anything, just, you know, learn, input. Then when you learn something, you find a place outside of school or uni or whatever, apply your knowledge. And that's how you kind of gain the experience and, you know, hands-on to stuff, or leadership, or the soft skill you learn. So yes, totally do it if you can, do academically. And plus, on top of that, definitely, yeah.
Fantastic. Vandana, as an ex-military officer, obviously leadership skills. You want to chime in?
Yeah, so I guess Felipe and Rie have both spoken in a very articulate manner, and I guess a lot of that is relevant everywhere across the globe and for all the kids. You know, my only 2 cents are now we are in a space where education has come into our homes virtually. So even if we are not able to go out and meet people who can train us, guide us, the world has come to us through our screens. So it's important to pick the right people who can inspire you, who can teach you on different social media. And, you know, there are influencers, there are inspirational leaders, and there's so much of information through online academies, Byju's, Khan Academy. There's so many of them, free courses. LinkedIn has so many courses. YouTube has a lot of courses. So one can learn so much from world leaders, the best in any class. And you know, it sounds not very, I'd put it as not very sexy, but they say fake it till you make it. So if you start imitating the leaders that you admire, half the job is done. You're automatically on the right path. So those are some of the ways, I'd say, apart from the conventional military and, you know, the leadership principles that I learned. I think in the newer world, I have also adapted, moved, learned across industries. And I realized you have to learn by, you know, following the best. So that would be my advice to anybody who wants to grow in any particular industry.
Nice.
Can I add?
No. Yes, Felipe, go ahead.
Because Vanessa, I love what you just said, and I think that is so important for people to hear out there, because I think at the end of the day, we are all across the world in different situations. Some have that privileged opportunity to go to a university, others don't. And I think that what you just said was so powerful. It's up to the individual to have that desire to learn. We have so much access to learn from each other. I learn every day from rooms that I'm in. I'm constantly learning from other people, and I think that's the key. Is we have that virtual ability now to learn easier from whether it's through a school, individuals, mentors, coaches, whatever it may be. And I think as the youth, take advantage of that. You have something that we didn't have growing up. We didn't have those benefits, that flexibility or that ease of being able to access that. And I think that keep on learning, keep on growing, because that you don't need to have a degree to keep on having that drive to learn. And I think that you have so many resources at your fingertips that definitely is an important thing that you brought up. So I'm so glad that you mentioned
Yeah, I definitely echo that, and I'm a strong advocate of lifelong learning. Learning never stops, right? I guess that's why we are always so curious every day on Clubhouse in that sense, right? We're always going into rooms and listening to fantastic, amazing people, and here we are today. But I want to move on to the next question, but I do have another question here on the chat, and it's funny because it's addressed to Felipe. Are you saying youths in USA gets paid even during unemployment? So there was one of a question from Billy.
So yeah, so people right now that are filed for employment so they were working prior, and they filed for employment and they are getting paid unemployment. The unemployment that they're receiving in many cases are higher than the minimum wage they would get for a job that they would work at. So in some cases, we are having an issue where people are choosing not to apply for jobs because they're actually making more money through unemployment. That's going to run out very soon, the next month or so, and that's where we're going to see a shift change. But there is and I don't want to criticize because I don't know where the problem fell in the unemployment process, but for them to get more money than they were making when they were working didn't seem right. And honestly, how many of us would sit there and say, oh, well, let me go look for a job when I'm making more money with unemployment? I mean, honestly, some of us might have that work ethic. I need to work. I need to keep on working. But yeah, it was very shocking to see that there were quite a few people, and again, mostly the entry-level jobs, not the higher-level jobs. But for restaurants, retail, entry-level bank jobs, there were many cases where the people were making more money with the unemployment. It was very shocking.
Interesting. So Billy, I hope Felipe answered your question there. This is something new that I'm learning as well. Okay, Vandana, very quickly, 3 skills that you think employers are on the lookout for today. It doesn't have to be a global context, maybe just in an India context that will do.
Andrew, I think I missed a little bit because there was a network issue at my place. Could you repeat
that? Three top skills that employers are looking for today. So it need not be a global context. It could be what HR in India are looking out for.
Okay, so I think the number one, and that I will put blanket across the place, is ability to thrive in chaos, because so much has changed in personal life, so much has changed in the jobs and everywhere. Now the employers are looking for people who are more resilient, who can take decisions on their own and are swift in their thinking. So there is definitely a need to survive in the real VUCA environment. I'd put it that way. So ability to thrive in chaos, I would say, is number one. Number two would be moving to specialist jobs. Like earlier, it was okay to be a generalist and do multiple things. But now, especially in the digital world, things are very, very specialized. So if you have strengths in, say, analytics or data sciences or content creation, those are some of the places where it's booming at the moment. So it's best that despite whatever skills one carries for last decade or two with jobs that people have had, it's important to build new skills and continue to show a learning mindset. I mean, one question I typically ask a lot of people is, what is the newest thing you've learned in terms of certifications or anything else that they might have done? Because people were home in lockdowns. So have they just whiled away their time, or have they utilized it to learn a new skill of some kind? And that says a lot about the person that you are hiring. So ability to continuously learn is the second one, I'd say. And third definitely would be for people to be a little more risk taking in their approach, because there again there is so much that is happening. If they don't take ownership, they are not able to move to areas which are beyond their comfort zone. It's hard to thrive. So these are some of the things which were not talked about so much in the offline world or the life before pandemic, but these are the things that we look for in people we look for our organizations.
Thank you. Ria, 3 top tips or rather top skills that job seekers should ideally have or possess.
Okay, I need to narrow it down. I have so many that, in my mind. I have 4, but okay, I'll choose 3.
No, just go ahead and do the 4. Go ahead and do the 4.
Thank you. Woo-hoo. I think my top 4 is adaptability, resilience, creativity, and communication skills. So as Vandana mentioned, like managing in chaos, that's about adaptability. Life is changing so quickly and you need to adapt in any situation. Like there's nothing solid. You can't just keep doing the same thing. If you're standing, that means you're blown away because things are moving, right? You need to keep going so you will stay or go forward. You can't just stop. So adaptability and resilience, so many people might feel demotivated or like feeling rejected, but you just try something new if it doesn't work. So you have to have resilience, creativity. Nowadays, look at us, look at you all, who's tuning in this, live or video. This all comes from your creativity or ideas that made this happen. And now we have, amazing people in one place, and you can make things happen if you have this creativity. And communication skills, so important, because you work with, nowadays, I can't teach, hey, if you're working with Japanese, if you're working with English, Americans, we all work together. You can't just have one drawer here and there. You have to have these soft skills, because we all look, we don't have any distance, doesn't matter where you are. It's all about your ideas, creativity, how we can all work together. So you need to have these 4 important skills. I think that's my top 4. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Felipe.
Well, Ria and Vandana did a great job. That I echo their what they said 100%. I'm going to say some things that are similar, but I will say that I think resilience, adaptability, being a change agent and being able to go with the flow, like they said, being able to help us navigate through things, whether it's pandemic or just life issues, recession, whatever may happen. We need someone that's flexible. But I love what you said about the creativity and sharing ideas. I want people to speak up, share their ideas, tell us their skills, their hidden skills that we don't know about. We found out that people had skills with art, with photography, with video, with cinematography. We had our employees start coming up and sharing their skills. Showcase that. That's not showboating. That's letting people know I have the skill set. If it's ever of value, I'm willing to offer it. And I think that takes initiative. And that's the other one is take the initiative to share that creativity. Take the initiative to say, hey, I want to help with that project, or I want to be a part of this new venture that we're doing. That initiative says a lot about the character of the person, saying, wow, they have a drive. They're somebody who wants to move forward and learn. And then that's what I say is the last one is just, again, we've all said it, keep on learning. Every day, I truly believe I learn something new. Not I believe, I know I learn something new every day. And I point it out to other people every time they say, oh, I didn't know that. There's one thing you learned today. We have to continue to learn because if we become stagnant and complacent, we're not going to help ourselves or other people, and we're just going to kind of go by the wayside. So I think that that's so important that we are continuously challenging ourselves and others to learn, but they, again, take initiative, share those creative ideas to help us differentiate from other people, and you really do stand out.
Felipe, well said. In fact, something you mentioned brought me to one of the things that I saw on LinkedIn, and this is from Tony Fernandez. If any of you know, he's the CEO of Asia Group, right? The hunger in their eyes and their passion in their hearts. I think that is very, very important as well. And he hit the nail right on the spot.
Right.
Yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, I will perhaps start with Vandana again. How do people catch hold of you, I suppose, on Clubhouse? Tell us the clubs that you are in, you are moderating, or rooms that you frequently, get into and get on stage and talk, so that people can hear more from you. And because all three of you are amazing, and I'm sure our audience here today would like to follow up on this session as well and hear more. So go ahead.
Sure, Andrew. Thank you so much. And in fact, I've been on Clubhouse, but I have not been able to participate very well. But I think Sticky Beak has been a place I've often been found. And apart from that, I am in a lot of global rooms where there's speed networking, or the international rooms where I can meet people from different countries and share knowledge on HR or mindsets, learning platforms. Apart from that, I am active on LinkedIn. I was the LinkedIn top voice for India in 2019. So that's, thanks, Felipe. Thanks, Ray. So I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, and you can also find me on Instagram. I have a page by the name of Major Vandana Sharma. So these are some of the places you can find me. And yes, from there, you can get back to Clubhouse. And whenever I'm speaking, if people follow me, they will get a notification on Clubhouse. I'm by the name of Vandana Sharma. So just check me out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ria, I know you also run a room that I frequent quite often, but please share with us.
Sure. Yes, I run this room called Working with Japanese. Being, intercultural trainer, I think that's a, good way to start. And I actually run this I joined Clubhouse end of January and running every week. And amazingly, I have guest speaker or moderator coming. Well, they're based in New York, or based in Singapore, and it's so global. And if you want to learn how to work with Japanese or learning about different culture, this is the place. I run every week, every Wednesday, 7:30 Japan time, so 6:30 Malaysian time. And apart from that, I'm also passionate about being on LinkedIn. In Japan recently, we finally being popular in Japanese market. So yeah, love to meet people on LinkedIn and doing Zoom as well. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Ria, I don't know if this qualifies me as working with Japanese. So now I probably can go on stage in your room now and talk. Yes, I've worked with a Japanese, and that's Ria.
I'm happy to collaborate, anyone,
In fact, I was about to propose. I thought after Felipe is done, I'd say we should all moderate a room together. It'll be fun.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
I would love that.
Follow up on the topic. Yeah.
Fantastic. You see, that's the, I know
Power.
Felipe loves to say this. This is the power of Clubhouse, and this is the power of LinkedIn, and I would say this is the power of, it being a borderless world today.
Yeah. Totally.
Right. The borders are closed, but who cares?
Who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Time zones don't matter. Borders don't matter.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
We're still connected. Thank God it's not back in the 40s.
That's right. And finally, Felipe.
So for me, when I mentioned, Sticky Beak is the club that I run rooms under, and we do a lot of LinkedIn rooms, as Ria mentioned, and Andrew has been so gracious to attend. And we do those Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. New York time. I believe that'd be 8 p.m. Malaysia time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so definitely, one we do Monday through Thursday. I do one also in the evenings on Monday at 6 p.m. for mostly the West Coast people in the U.S. because they don't get up too early when I do it in the mornings. But it's really about also rooms I'm in that are about leadership, about work culture. Those are very passionate to me. I feel as leaders, we have an obligation to make sure that we have the right work culture that's safe for people, that has opportunity for growth, that has it's one of equality, and one that we are taking action to make change, because it's not just about making awareness, it's about making change and not waiting for someone else to do it, for us to do it and start taking it, because every single person can make a change. And you can find me obviously on LinkedIn. Obviously I'm on there almost daily. Actually, I am on there daily. Let's be honest. I'm on there every single day. So Clubhouse and LinkedIn, those two things together is a marriage made in heaven, I think, because it has put me in connection with people like these wonderful people here today that I would never had the privilege to, I think, ever get to know as well as I do now. But this has brought us together. So I look forward to us doing a room together. I look forward to us doing many things together because I love these wonderful connections.
Look forward.
And fantastic. And with that, on behalf of the team of Rejuvenate Edition 2, I would really like to say thank you to Major Vandana Sharma, Felipe Cofino, Rie Eichmann, arigato. Thank you so much for making time and dropping lots of gems, dropping lots of wisdom for the youth. I'm sure there's lots to pick up from what has been said. Although we had a pretty quick session in that sense, but I believe it was full of value. In fact, it wasn't a pretty quick session. I think we hit more than an hour now, and I believe if I'm not managing time, we could go on and on. I'm so sure of it. I'm so sure of it. But yes,
well, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
Perspectives, yeah, loved every perspective that came. Lovely insight.
Fantastic. And with that, I would like to say a final thank you. And I hope everyone is staying safe and staying well. And if you've not been vaccinated, go get vaccinated. That would really help. That's the first line of defense. And I hope to see all three of you back in future editions of Rejuvenate, and continue to support us. Thank you.
Look forward.
Thank you.
All right.
So
And with that is good night from Malaysia and good morning to Felipe.
Good morning, good night, good evening. Adios to everyone. Good day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.